Good afternoon, everybody. Um, just wanted to talk to everybody. A lot of people think that people who have opinions are just keyboard warriors, and that is not the case with me. Um, we have an issue in the United States right now, and it's not in particular. I wouldn't blame it on any particular president, any particular uh, individual, whether it's in the private sector, public sector, um, you know, private business owners, whatever. There are some things there that I'll touch on, but um, the issue here right now at hand is um, it's about sacrificing now for something greater to happen later. Now, we've tried this. We've tried this for, oh, I mean, we've tried this since the 60s. And it started with Vietnam, and then, of course, the Cold War, and which really never ended. We have the former Soviet Union basically now with Vladimir Putin, who wants to take over every former Soviet state, and he may not quit there either. And that's the issue here. And the issue here is that um, through a lot of different sources, there have been reports that we have Russian operatives right here on the ground in the United States, possibly even Russian agents or soldiers who are just incognito for now, until they're called to rise up against the American public or whatever. Of course, just hearsay, just rumors, but something I wouldn't want to take the chance on having go on in America. Um, some people have criticized my economic views because I am an American nationalist when it comes to economics, but I'm also on the social end of economics, where I believe that the very wealthy. We've tried another thing we tried for over 50 years or 40 some years is this idea that if all of the profit is funneled toward the top of the chain, that it will somehow come down and eventually make regular people like you and I, who make less than 50,000 a year, and I would even go up to as much as $500,000 per year per person, that it's not benefiting us. It may benefit people who make a little more than the 50,000 to 100,000 range, but anyone making less than $50,000 a year is not doing well. I mean, you're living paycheck to paycheck, unless you own everything that you have. Which and that's if that's so, then you're lucky. You've had good credit. You've never had any personal issues that have taken away from your credit score, and bills and medical bills and vehicles that you couldn't afford, or things like that. You have all kinds of sorts of things that go toward having the experience of the quote American dream, unquote. But at the same time, you're American. We're Americans, and we should not have to struggle to decide whether or not we're going to buy our prescriptions or pay our car insurance, or buy baby formula versus uh, dinners for the next week. That's not how America was supposed to be. That's not how we should have been functioning at all. We were doing a lot better from the late 30s all the way up until the early 60s. That sort of ended with Lyndon Johnson, and then it just kept getting worse. And I'm all for international trade, okay? And right now, these tariffs are not the correct answer, because what we're doing is we're betting on future gains now by doing this and struggling in the short term. But the problem is that it's never short term. We've tried it before, and you end up with years and years of having to recover. The markets have to recover. The job growth has to recover, because there's going to be a lot of loss of jobs. There already has been a lot of loss of jobs. A company that I used to work for, they went in and, they can give whatever reason they want to give, but they went in and took a lot of people who were making decent money, like myself, and just went through and slashed with a sickle, and just said, no, you're done. And that's not how America used to be. That's not how the America that I grew up in used to be. And I am going to fight, and I'm going to do everything that I can to make America the way that it used to be for lower middle class people, and bring them out of just being poor working class, because that's what people who are making 50,000 and under, we're poor working class. We're poor. By today's standards. Now, by nations, third world nations and things like that, we're doing a little bit better. But the thing about it is we're a first world nation. We won World War II, and World War One. We saved the world. We've continued to save the world over and over and over again. We should have a little bit of capital there, as far as treating our citizens the way that we need to treat them. But we don't need to risk losing everything that we have just so that we can, pay off the national debt in 30 or 40 years. And in the meantime, in the 30 or 40 years that we're paying it off, we're all struggling, and we're all living, paycheck to paycheck, or just not having any income at all. And then what happens is when your companies, they get the cheap goods from other places, and they pass that all the way up the chain, whether it's from raw materials or from wholesale to retail to contract work, whatever you want to throw in there. You've got one group will mark it up from the very basic, from where it was just pennies on the dollar or fractions of a penny on the dollar, and then it goes up the chain, and then everybody marks it up the chain, and marks it up just ridiculously, like insanely high. There's no sense in the level of percentage increase that they mark these things up. And it just, then what it does is it causes problems for the consumer. It causes problems for the workers, because the wages are lower or stagnant, and the prices of goods go up, and we have the hidden inflation like we've had for the last 10, 15 years probably now. We never really fully got over the first Great Recession that happened during the Bush and Obama administrations, which wasn't really their fault. It was the bankers who gave loans to people who couldn't afford those loans, and then they defaulted, and then the banks almost, or did, some of them did go bankrupt, and they stepped in, and they wanted the U.S. taxpayer to, foot the bill for the difference. And, if you're truly a capitalist, then you would see how that's hypocritical, because it's swim or die as far as capitalism is concerned. That's the way that it's always been explained to us in our classes here, in our economic classes. So why do multi-million-dollar corporations and banks and businesses, why do they get the benefit of receiving money from everyone through sales tax or income tax or property taxes or whatnot? And why do they get the benefit of being bailed out so to say, and then we don't. We are left to fend for ourselves. If you're on unemployment, most places you only get 6 months of unemployment after you lose a job that pays a decent amount of money, and then unless you find a job, you're done. You're screwed. You have no income, and it's almost like they want people to live off the government, and that's not right. We don't want people to live off of the government. We want people to have jobs that pay well and pay well enough to where you don't have to file for um, SNAP benefits or EBT or emergency cash or things like that from the government. So private companies, and government contractors, and just public traded companies, anything like that. Any corporation needs to start paying their people more. They need to renegotiate prices from the bottom all the way up, and there needs to be some sort of government intervention. I don't know what that would look like. I've had some ideas, but there has to be some sort of intervention there, because the prices are getting way out of hand, and there shouldn't be as high of a markup as there is, because the money is not going to people like me and you. The money's not going to people like me and you. The money is going to the CEOs, the board of directors, the company owners, which I understand if you're a business owner and you are a private business owner and you have taken your whole life to build this business that's successful. I understand that you shouldn't be punished for that. I get it. That's not what we should be doing. On the other hand, there's a little bit of common sense. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And if you're making that kind of money, step up a little bit, step up to the plate. Don't just have your business rely on a specific budget that you have set aside for that business. And when you have other things and other assets and other capital, if your business is struggling, pump more money into it so that your employees are able to, have a decent life and not have to live paycheck to paycheck. There is incentives and things that you would need. You need to put those in place, because you don't want people bringing in a lot of money and then they get lazy and then they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just going to do the bare minimum. I'm not going to step up, and I'm not going to try. I'm not going to do extra. And then then the system sort of collapses, because you have people that won't produce or sell, or because they'll be making enough money to get by, and then they get comfortable, and then they're like, well, why do I have to work so hard or do any kind of work whatsoever? And that's where that risk comes into play. But you can even have legitimate contracts with individuals, with employees, saying that if we pay you the X amount of dollars it's gonna bring you up to a certain nice level of cost of living, then you agree to to work and do your share and not lose that sense of urgency to get things done. And this all goes back to, like I said, it goes back to America, because I don't want Americans to suffer for the next 40 years with a really super weak economy. The U.S. dollar is trading lower than it's ever been against other currencies. We have got to do something, because we don't want. We rely on China. We have relied on China quite a bit for the last 40 years. And that's why our prices on things have been so low, is because the U.S. businesses rely on that labor from China, and we get things that are reasonably priced. But that didn't used to be the case. We used to be able to produce things in this country, and still provide products for people, and still pay them decent wages, and still have them be able to afford everything that they needed. And two people in a household didn't have to work, and one person could stay home, one person could raise the child or children or whatever, keep the house nice, whatever you needed there, and the other person could have a full-time job and go to work and make a living to get everybody by. And that's just unfortunately, without any kind of government assistance these days, that's almost impossible. Unless you have a person who works a really pretty hard 40-hour or plus work week, then going and working 4 or 5 more hours every day. And then that person, I mean, you can't work people to death just because your economy sucks. And that's what third world nations do. The first world nations do not do that. We are the only country on this planet that is an advanced nation that doesn't have health care, universal health care that is paid for by some sort of tax income or private donations. And nobody wants to step up to the plate and address it, and because they're all paid off. The congressmen, the senators, the executive branch, hell, even probably the Supreme Court. We don't know. And local officials, they're all in it to make money. And that's a problem, because we have a social responsibility to one another. We have a greater good issue. Like I've said, I've always preached that greater good is for Americans is the most important thing, and greater good for your family is the most important thing. And by greater good for your family, I don't mean you hold on to billions or millions of dollars so that 20 generations of your family are taken care of. You need to help people now. And that's not happening, and it hasn't happened for a long, long time. And Americans need to take care of each other. We are Americans, man. I mean, like I said, we saved this world over and over again. We don't deserve, the American citizens don't deserve to be paid less than a living wage. And it's not right. It's just not right. Honestly, it's just not right. I'm an American nationalist when it comes to economics. I am, though, to the left, and I don't mean to the left like liberal. I mean like I'm left when it comes to economics, but I'm left for nationalism, for U.S. nationalism on economics. I believe that we should, rebuild our entire infrastructure. We should have more lighting on streets to prevent crimes, and to have more visibility on individuals that are out there being predators. We need to have a better, a serious border patrol situation, not where we're deporting families and children and things like that, but where we're actually bringing people in, we're vetting them with their country of origin, and then we are getting them through the citizenship process so that they can become Americans. Because the reason they're coming here is because they want to be Americans. So you have some that are coming here to run drugs and things like that, but there's also government agencies involved. And if you believe some of the the conspiracy theories, there's some very wealthy people and some very dark backroom types of branches of these different government agencies that they're in on this too. And it goes back to the whole the gun situation, where we were sending guns over to Mexico, and then they were coming right back into the United States and harming American citizens. We can't do this kind of stuff. We can't have these black ops projects. We got to focus on America and positivity and getting these things settled. We can't have death. We need to work on getting medicine affordable or free for people, and doctor's visits and surgeries and long-term treatments. We need to make sure that our elderly are taken care of, and that these nursing homes and all these other places don't gouge people out of every single penny that they receive from the government just because they can, again. And so that it makes the owner of the managed care facilities that much richer. And then we've got veterans in these nursing homes, and that's sad. These veterans don't deserve that. Our veterans do not deserve that. I'm coming from a military family. I was ROTC in high school. I did a lot of volunteer work for government over the years. I ran for office. I've been very politically active, and I've been very pro-America. And it goes back to, we have to take care of now. We can't worry about 40, 50 years from now. We need to worry about it. I mean, we need to have that on the back burner. We need to make sure that that's there, that we think about that. But the overall conditions in America need to be where we can survive in the meantime. We can't just stop getting our people what they need and just hope that the plan was 10 years from now we'd have the debt paid off and the deficit and everything, and the balanced budget and blah blah blah. Well, there's already been thousands and thousands of people, good people, that have lost their government jobs. Yeah, I get that some were wasteful, but you don't put a blanket over everything. You look at everything individually. You look at every person is a different person. Every person's a different individual with different thoughts, different feelings, different emotions. You can't just put a blanket over everyone and say, okay, they're all the same, because it's just like there's a lot of billionaires and millionaires who do a lot of good out there. They donate, they offer to, they do pay more taxes so that they can take care of trying to get money to some of the social programs that we really do need. I mean, whether it's, like I say, infrastructure or healthcare or bringing wages up. There's a way that the government and private agencies and corporations, they could all be working together to make sure that everybody has a living wage and has a job. Because we already had a works project administration years ago where we put people to work. The government took people who were victims of the Great Depression, and they found them jobs, and they made sure that they were paid well. And back then, the rich paid up to 93% of income tax. The very wealthy did. I think over a certain amount, like maybe $1 million or $2 or $3, they paid a very high income tax. And I don't expect people to pay that much, because, like I say, I believe if you own your own business, you've run your own business, you deserve to reap the rewards of your own labor that you put into that for a long time, that you've worked hard to build your business. I don't believe in taking things away from people like that. I just believe that we need to take care of Americans, and we're not taking care of Americans. We are. And the tariffs are not taking care of Americans. The thought process behind it might be a good thought, a good ideology maybe, but as we're seeing with the stock market, it's not working. We have, over the last 40 or 50 years, become so interdependent with other nations on this planet that financially and with production and goods and services, that we can't just build Rome in a day. It just can't. It doesn't work that way, and you have to have a slower process. Anybody who's been to my website, and I'll put the link for my the plan that I when I still have my organization, the One Above One Foundation, that focuses on American citizens in an American century for the 21st century. And it's a statement of principles, and you'll see that the things that I believe in, I'm very personally, in my personal life, I am very more conservative, I guess, than liberal. But when it comes to the people and when it comes to the general public, you can't just try to impose your personal beliefs on other people. That when every individual thinks and just has different emotions. They're all different. Everybody's different. They think differently, and they have different beliefs. They have different ways that they live their lives, and you cannot let your personal beliefs overshadow uh, the greater good here, and what the public uh, best interest is. And the best interest is that we give everyone the ability to choose for themselves what they would like, and what they need in their own lives. And the role of government is to be there to protect us with our defense, our military, every our agencies, our intelligence agencies. That's something that is there for, but it also should be there for things of social nature, food, shelter, even transportation. It's sad when China. Okay, just think about it. China, what, 4 times the population of the United States, or more. I can't. I don't know what the exact number is right now on the top of my head. I have to look at it. But they have universal health care for their people. It's free, and they have universal health care for their people. That is sad. That's sad when China can provide that for their own people, and we can't, because of I'll just say it, greed, man. It's just greed. It's just everybody wants as much as they can get. And it's not, nobody wants to do anything in moderation. Nobody wants to just hey, I'm getting by okay, I'm getting everything that I need, and a lot of what I want, and that's enough. That it's like they just forget that it's like, oh no, I need more, you know that's, if you really want to be an American and you really want to support your country, you need to put a kibosh on that attitude really quick, because that's not how it works. The government's there to help us. The government's there to assist us. But as far as people and individuals, everybody needs to look out for the greater good of their fellow American citizens. And if we have to get the military involved to try to get some of this done, we have to. We need to. And I don't know what that looks like, whether it's joint civilian military type of projects where everybody, or just community projects where people band together and just help each other out. But we are so interdependent on other countries right now that it's going to take a while to get everything back to where it needs to be. And you have to just look at now and look at how many people are going to be negatively affected by just pulling completely out of international relations. It's not how it works. I'm sorry, guys. It's not how it works. And if you really believe in true capitalism, you'll realize that's really not how it works. And I don't believe in the capitalist system in America as it sits, as it exists now. I think that I call it crony capitalism, because it's not really free market. It's all controlled by lobbyists and politicians and businessmen who use their little connections and things to get all these things done, and it doesn't help the workers. It hurts the consumers. It hurts America. It hurts us, and we need to put a stop to a lot of this before it gets too far out of hand. And in the meantime, we need to work with our trade partners, work with our allies to get the best deals, but also, not punish each other. We need to work together. We can't just have this trade war like this continue if we're going to take care of our people. That's not how this. That's not how it works, man. I mean, do the research. I mean, and don't do research on Fox News. Don't do research on MSNBC. Don't do research on CNN. Go to the Associated Press and research, articles. Go to UPI. Go somewhere where it's an independent, just right out there, straight news. Just the wire, right off the wire. Go look at studies. Go look at studies that have been done by many, many, many experts over the years. And they all point in the direction of exactly what I'm saying in this video. So the reason I wanted to get on this video is because I wanted to put my face and my mouth where my words and things are, and to clear up a few things. I'm going to continue to have more videos and let people listen to what I have to say. But we have a problem, and it's not getting any better. And we just got to do something about it. We've got to do something about it. We've got to get universal basic income. We've got to get things, and that's not liberal. When I'm talking about American citizens, guys and ladies and whoever. I'm talking about American citizens here. Okay? We have to do something about a plethora of different issues that we've got going on right now, and we have to start fixing them. But it starts local. It starts local. It starts, I like to go big, and I like to go higher. I like to look at the microcosmic causes behind the macrocosmic problems, because it starts small. All the problems, the big problems that we have, they all have roots, and they all have small roots, and they all have many small roots, and they all have a source of which that we need to fix, and we've got to do it. I'm not running for office. I did that years ago. I tried. I had hurdles. A lot of it was personal choices that I just decided not to, for whatever reason. Personal, family. But I have a voice, and I'm going to use it. And we can't let our personal beliefs, religious beliefs, traditionalist economic beliefs, like you think that America is actually in a form of capitalism, or if you think America is actually in socialism, you're wrong on both. You're wrong. You're wrong on both. We do not live in a socialist nation. We do not live in a capitalist nation. We have not tried free market. And I say socialism. We haven't tried free market socialism or free market capitalism in America, like where you actually have communities come together, and you either have a trade and sell and buy type of situation, or you have a community of people that get together and everybody produces things, and and you have local businesses that then hire and get people into other positions, and you have people who make certain things, like basically you have people who are talented at one thing provide something for other people, and then those other people who are talented at one thing, they provide things for other people. That's like true socialism, and that's never happened either. It's never happened. Neither one of those things have ever happened. That's why they call it a mixed market economy. But it's not. It's not even that. The economists like to say that, but it's not even that. We live in and lately the term oligarchy has been thrown around, and it's true. We really do. We live we live in a country where the wealth gap inequality is just getting it's just getting further and further away from between rich and poor. And and that's, and like I say, if you have a business that you formed on your own, and you shouldn't be punished for that. But have some common sense. If you can help somebody out, you know, if I'm going down the street and I see somebody that's out and they like there's been many people who have asked my wife, for a cigarette here and there or whatever, like if they're out, and and some people get scared and they're like, oh, you're criminals and they're going to try to beat you up, no, the guy literally, most of these people, they just want to talk, have a cigarette, that's it, because they can't afford them, and cigarettes are addictive, and nicotine's addictive. And it's not easy to quit. Then you need pharmaceuticals to be able to do so most of the time. And guess what? The pharmaceuticals aren't free. So, again, goes back to what I was saying. We need to take care of Americans. We need to make sure our Americans, and that doesn't mean banning soda. That doesn't mean banning tobacco. It doesn't mean banning anything. You don't ban books. You don't ban anything. That's the libertarian side of me that I've always believed in, is that you don't ban things. There's no sense in banning things. As a matter of fact, if you ban certain things, you don't learn from history. You start banning flags, like in the South. You start doing stuff like that. You start tearing down statues. You start doing things like that. You don't learn from the history of it. You have to learn what what our history is, like the Trail of Tears and how terrible that was for the Native Americans. We have to learn. We have to keep those things intact so that we learn from our history and not repeat it. Just like what happened in Nazi Germany, what happened in hardline communist Soviet Union. We're talking, between the two, we're talking anywhere from 60 to 100 million people that got murdered by Hitler and Stalin together. We can't have another leader that does this kind of thing. We have technology now. We have a very we have an advanced society. We can't do that anymore, and we need to make sure that the people who are in charge, no matter who they are, the world's not overpopulated. That is a complete myth. There's plenty of room, there's plenty of land, there's plenty of food, there's plenty of goods, there's plenty of everything. But let's take care of America first. Let's work with our trade partners, and let's try to get this thing to where we have taken care of Americans and taken care of our infrastructure, roads, bridges, rail, anything that we need, transportation, mass transportation, we definitely need, and especially if we want to afford people the ability to have a job, no matter what, we need to make sure that they have the ability to get to that job safely, and that would mean that we also need to invest in our infrastructure. The power grid is terrible. We're working on 70-year-old technology right now. We can't do that. Every time there's an ice storm, thunderstorm, whatever, the power goes out. That's ridiculous. We need a better system. We need to look at other countries and see what they're doing that are more efficient. We need, like a bridge, because of all the red tape, and here in America, there was a bridge close to me that they were working on, a 2-lane highway. I swear to you, that bridge, it took 3 to 4 years for them to complete that bridge, probably because of all the different regulations from all the different people that were involved, and all the different local governments and state government and federal government, because it's a U.S. highway, blah, blah, blah. Again, back to that, China would have had that done in a week. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, we are Americans and we can't do that? I mean, this is, I mean, we really need to work on a lot of things, and I can't go on about it because I gotta get back to work. But man, you know, we gotta work on this. We can't, and we can't just label everything. Oh, it's socialism, or it's liberals and they're woke, or oh, MAGA, they suck, or you know, we can't look at everybody like that. We got to look at everybody as individuals, but you have to study things independently. You cannot listen to these people who are giving you one side or another. You have to look at things independently, and listen to what I'm saying. I'm trying to help you. So let's get it together, folks, and I'll have more videos. So that's me, Jason Dotson, right here in the face, signing off.